Hi, and welcome back to I Bloody Love Orange. I'm Josh.
And I'm Jess, and this is our true crime podcast.
We're back.
We're big, baby.
How you doing? How you doing? How you doing?
I'm good. Oh, just in time for the bell. I can just about hear that in the background. It's 5 o'clock,
Yeah, that means
it?
it's 5 o'clock. Yeah.
It's 5 o'clock.
Can I continue with my rant that I was going on just before we started recording?
We were just talking about, like, life things. And I was like, Josh, why aren't we recording this? Just stop right now. Let's press record and let's do it. Go.
Yeah, I know everyone will understand this, but everything in my life is Apple. Everything. I have an Apple computer, I have 2 iPads, I have the phone, I've always had the phone, I've got the watch, all that bullshit in my house, right?
Yeah.
And the one thing that's, like, driving me insane, like, me and John almost had an argument about it, is that, you know, the wires?
Yeah.
If that wire comes out and then turns slightly, it's going to rip.
It's gone.
It's just going to rip.
It's gone.
So fast. So
she gone.
One of the wires that's by my desk where I do the podcast and do everything is, like, starting to rip. And honestly, that small rip has made me think that I'm going to get a Samsung phone.
I still, like, I understand the pain. I really do. Because, like, I absolutely despise that Apple, like, use their own fixtures for everything. So you can't get, like, universal wires. But I, at the same time, would never, ever. I just can't even bear it. I can't. My mum and my brother and my dad, they all have, like, Android phones. But mum especially, she has a Samsung one. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. If she puts it in my hand, it's always absolutely boiling for some reason. Like, I've literally got 3rd-degree burns on my hand whenever she puts it in my hand. It's just always covered in smudge marks. Like, the screen just feels plasticky to me. I hate it so much. It's, like, so light. I feel like I'm going to throw it by accident.
I mean, thank God we have no listeners on this podcast.
I know.
Because if we did, the
No
amount
offense.
of...
No offense, you horrible Samsung users. What are you doing with your lives? Get to the Apple store, stat.
the iOS and, like, Android argument is real, right?
Yeah, but I never used to, like, care. I was one of those, like, Apple users that was just like, I use Apple because I like it and it's easy. Yeah. And I never used to care until I moved back home and I had to deal with mum's Samsung so much. It's just, she's always putting in my hand. Like, if she's driving, she's like, do this, do that, text this person, play Pokemon. And I absolutely despise the phone. I really do.
The reason that I've, like, as I said, with the cables and stuff, but recently, when we were, like, setting up the podcast and we wanted to do it, I had bought some earphones that I wanted to plug into my computer or plug into my phone or stuff and like, use for the podcast, right? So my phone is the iPhone 10.
So it's the lightning jack.
Yeah, so the lightning jack has disappeared off of my phone.
No. You've got the lightning jack and only that. The jack plug, the normal aux plug, is disappeared off the phone.
Right. So from that small conversation, you will understand that I am not technically advanced. I actually use Apple because I find it more simple. Like,
it is.
I don't have to do a lot on it. I open up my computer and it just kind of works and I don't really do anything to it. So that's why everything I have. I know it's more expensive. I don't care. It's just simple and easy and I am technically challenged.
Yeah.
So I buy the earphones that match my phone, right? And they match the iPad and all that other bullshit. But then I can't charge my phone while using them. I can't charge the iPad while using them.
I know.
I also can't plug these new... They were like 3,500 yen, which is what, like 30 quid. I can't plug them into my computer. Because
I know.
My computer's a jack and this is a lightning cable. So I can't plug it into my mic because my mic is not a thing. Then my mic can't plug into my computer without 5 other cables because my computer's an Apple computer and the mic is... Jess, it drove me.
It's mad.
Insane.
Like, it does. Like, I got... You know, I'm the same. I have, like, everything Apple as well. And have done for years. So I probably will never change because, like I said, it's just so easy. Like, once you've learned how to use Apple and their system, it is so much easier and so much more clear. So, like, but the new MacBooks have, like, a USB-C charger. So that's good. So, like, now I have the same charger. Like, I have a charger that's sort of, like, hidden away behind my little desk and it just pokes out to plug in, all neat and tidy, because I like everything to be neat and tidy. And I can use the same one for my Switch, which is great.
Oh, my
Because
God, that's so
because they're
cool.
both USB-C. So like sometimes when my Switch is dying and I'm playing it in bed, I just like unplug my computer and plug in my Switch. So that's good. But my Mac now only has 2 USB-C slots, no USB, just USB-C, and one jack plug. That's it. There's no other like things on it.
Right, it's a pain.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
difficult
only
to
because mine's
like.
like a MacBook Air, so it's like the small thin one.
Right.
Whereas my old Pro was like massive and like literally weighed the same as my car. I
But like, mine's a MacBook Pro, and I can't tell you what's on it. I've got like something that looks like a lightning thing, but it's not the same as my phone. I've got
no.
USB. I've got a headphone thing. The power cable's different. I've got something over here. It's like a HDMI cable. Like a million things, but none of them. Like if I plug the microphone into it, it doesn't
Yeah,
automatically.
but
Well, I'm
if you
sorry.
that's
This
the
is a
thing.
10-minute rant on nothing,
If
but it's
you
like such white
try
people
if
problems.
you try to plug in anything that did not come from the Apple store, it ain't happening. It is not happening.
Yeah,
If
it's
you go and
so
buy a
annoying.
HDMI cable from the Apple store, it's fine. It'll work. If it's
Yeah,
white, it's gonna work, right?
yeah.
If you buy one, I know that sounded really racist, and it didn't mean to, but that's Apple, isn't it?
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
I'm not saying that Apple's racist. What I'm saying is like they have like all this, like their whole store is just white and grey.
Yeah, it's just they just want you to, buy all of their shit.
I do
So
love though.
annoying.
I do love that they don't have like a designated buying area. Like you don't have to go in queue. You just grab someone, and they're like, "Yo,"
Yeah, and
and
then
then you
they
can just like
scan it.
walk out the shop. Like, it's great. I
Yeah.
do love that.
I do remember years ago. This is gonna be the last thing I say on this. I do remember years ago. I had I had an iPhone, and it was my birthday, and somebody had bought me an iPhone case from the Apple store because I
Hmm.
was obsessed with Apple. I always have been. And somebody bought me like the. Do you remember the bumper that would go around your phone? There was like a pale
Yeah.
blue one, and I really loved it because it was Apple, and I'm such a fanboy. And so somebody bought it me, but it had a little scratch where the colour was slightly miscoloured,
Oh.
and I was so upset.
Hmm.
So we went. We were in London at the time, and I went to the Apple store in London, and I sort of showed them my phone, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Look, it's my birthday today. There's a little scratch on my case, and it kind of bothers me, and I only got it today." And I started to get into the explanation of like, "It's my birthday, and like I can show you it's my birthday." And the guy literally just ripped it off my phone, took one off the shelf, ripped it open, put it on my phone. He's like, "You can go. That's fine. Cool.
Yeah,
Just
I
take
do
it."
love that.
And my mom at the time was just like, that was the most amazing customer service I've like ever witnessed. For him to just rip it off your phone, didn't care. He was like, "Yeah, there is a scratch. That's awful. Happy birthday, dude. Have this. Go. Cool." I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if I've just thrown someone in Apple under the bus, but like
No, that
customer
they all
service,
do
fair
that. They
play.
have that like ability. They can do that.
Yeah, it was good. And I think one of my past MacBooks I took in, and it was out of warranty, and I was upset, and they fixed the fan on it for free and stuff. So
Yeah,
they've done
I
some
can't
good
fault their
stuff.
customer service. They like up there with Disney customer service, you know.
Yeah. So welcome to the Tech Podcast. Where
We're now
we,
iJustine. If
oh
iJustine, oh
yes.
my god. If you don't know,
No.
get on it. She's a YouTuber and she does tech, and now we're her proteges. I can't even say the word.
Yeah, like she ruined my entire financial life
Yeah,
because I was obsessed with her.
yeah.
I got to tell you, right?
Mm.
Today, I mean, you better get some tea. You better get a glass of water. You better really sit down for this because the the crime that I'm going to get into
Podcast.
is oh, it's really it.
So,
I mean, get your passports. We are going south. It's
so
gonna be rough.
when we were like getting ready to record this, we realized that Josh had done the longest script. Like, he's
Yeah.
written out so much that we decided that today is just going to be Josh's crime, because trying to fit two in is going to be like 3 hours long.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take over the podcast today if you don't mind. And
No,
I'm
that's
just
totally
going to.
fine.
But please understand that I've worked on this case now for about 2-ish weeks, pulling from different sources and making sure the information's correct and then making this script how I wanted it to be. And I'm so excited to tell you because it's going to come full circle. Anyway, if you don't mind, I'm going to get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Buckle up. let's go to church.
Hang on a second. If you can just hear a quick door opening, it's because my cat's meowing outside. Get in. Get in.
I was so building that up,
I
and I
know.
love how it just dropped.
Because I was like, if you just start talking about this crime and then this cat's just outside, it's just a really high-pitched meow. And it's going to just be the weirdest thing.
Okay. Let me go again.
Okay.
Here is the crime coming to you. Right, anyway. So I want to talk about a hotel. It's now called Stay on Main.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hotel in Los Angeles, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to first talk about Elizabeth Short. Elizabeth Short was born July 29th, 1924 in Boston, Massachusetts. Her family were mostly normal. They moved around the States as kids, but they mainly grew up in Boston, okay? Her father built mini golf courses, which made them quite wealthy, until the market crash of 1929, when he lost almost everything and the family became totally broke.
Right.
The next year, her father's car is found abandoned on the Charleston Bridge, and it's assumed that he had jumped into the Charles River committing suicide.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Elizabeth had severe asthma and bronchitis, and she was advised by doctors to relocate to a milder climate during winter months to prevent worsening her respiratory problems.
Oh my God. Do you know what? Hang on a second. I would just say that I would love that. Like, I would love if I had a doctor's advice to move to like a hot country, I'm there.
To like go to the south of France every winter and then come back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be lush. So she goes to spend winters in Florida with family.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes from Boston to Florida and sort of like goes between the two. In 1942, 12 years after his disappearance, Elizabeth's mother receives an apologetic letter from her presumed dead husband, revealing that he was in fact alive and living a new life in California.
Oh, what a bitch.
Yeah, so he didn't jump into the river. He actually kind of staged the whole thing and went to California to start a new life.
What an absolute bitch.
Right? This leads Elizabeth to move in with him in California. So she goes to stay with her dad. But after a kind of tough relationship, she moves out.
Mm-hmm.
But this is how she ends up in California. So after a kind of a rough time, she suffers abuse from one of her partners. She has problems with some of her friends. She moves back to Florida, where she meets he's a pilot, Gordon Fickling. I think he's like an army pilot. And they kind of have an on and off relationship kind of thing while she's in Florida, kind of dating, but he gets relocated to California. So she goes back to LA to visit him, and she starts working as a waitress. They're not like a serious couple, but she heads back to California and she kind of rekindles things with him and starts kind of talking.
Okay.
January 15th, 1947, the body of a 22-year-old Elizabeth Short, more commonly known as the Black Dahlia, was discovered by Betty Bersinger in Los Angeles on Norton Avenue. She was actually in two halves. She's cut completely in half. I think you're going to know this story.
I knew
right?
As soon as you said Elizabeth Short, I was like, oh, it's the Black Dahlia case.
The Black Dahlia.
I was like, oh, because I know this case so well. This is one of the things, like, you know, it's one of those crimes where you just like, bang, this is what gets you into crime.
See, I knew you knew this case, so I hope you're sitting down. I'm about to ruin your life. So, Elizabeth Short. So, she's known as the Black Dahlia. She's found by this lady called Betty, and she's cut in half. Betty originally believed that the body was a store mannequin cut in half because the body is so white, so pale, and in like a posed position.
Yeah, it was posed, didn't it, with like an arm above the head and stuff like that.
Yeah, quite artistically in this like empty lot where a house would have been, but it was empty. And it wasn't until later, like it's not until she really looks in on this figure that she realises what she's actually seeing. And so she rushes to her house and calls the authorities, naturally. Elizabeth's body was drained of all of its blood,
Mm.
which is why she had such a pale mannequin look. The cut that dissected her was so clean and precise that it left no trauma to her internal organs or bones. It was very professionally done.
Mm-hmm.
Her face was also cut into a Glasgow smile, which is similar to the image the Joker has,
Yeah.
where someone is cut from mouth to ear, right?
Yeah.
Strangely, there's no blood at the scene where the body is found, which leads investigators to believe the body was moved after she was killed. January 21st, 1947, a person claiming to be the killer called the editor of a newspaper covering the case, congratulating him on the coverage and saying that he planned to eventually turn himself in, but he wanted the police to kind of do a cat and mouse chase first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He also told the editor to expect some souvenirs shortly.
Mm.
3 days later, the really famous envelope was discovered by a US Postal Service worker. It's been addressed to the Los Angeles papers with the words cut from newspaper clippings. The message reads, "Here is Dahlia's belongings, letter to follow." And I will put the picture of the
Yeah.
post on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's quite a harrowing envelope. It's not nice. It's, what do we call that? Like a black letter or blood letter or something?
I
When you
don't
cut it out of a
know.
newspaper and stick it down. There's a word for that. I can't
Is
remember.
there? I
I'll
didn't even
find
know
out
there
later.
was.
Yeah, it's a way to cover yourself. But it should be noted that the envelope had Elizabeth's birth certificate, business cards, photos, some names on a paper, and an address book that had some pages missing. The address book had the name Mark Hansen embossed on it. Also, gasoline was put on the belongings because gasoline will remove any fingerprints
Right.
on the
Okay.
items, which I found interesting.
Yeah.
More notes would be sent. One saying, "Turning in Wednesday 10 a.m. Had my fun with the police. Black Dahlia Avenger." Um, Initially, Robert Manley was suspected of killing her. He had driven Elizabeth to the hotel she was staying at. He had been dating her for a month before her death. Over this time period, they went on numerous dates. She'd also confided in him when she was living alone and her living situation fell through. That's when he took her to the hotel. Before that, she did go and stay with him in separate rooms, completely cordial and, totally
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Mm-hmm.
But him dropping her at the hotel, he's essentially dropping her at the last place she's ever going to be seen alive.
Yeah.
Upon questioning, he did offer to take a polygraph test, and he passed twice. He had also returned to San Diego a week before her body was discovered. Later in his life, Robert Manley would be sent to a mental hospital because he complained of hearing voices.
Mm-hmm.
When given sodium pentothal, which is like a suspected truth serum,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that checks out. They talk to him and question him about the events, and it seems like everything checks out.
Mm-hmm.
Something a little strange. He died from an accidental fall 39 years to the day he last saw Elizabeth.
Well,
Creepy, right?
an
So
accidental
next,
fall.
accidental.
Yeah.
People have considered that
Questioned.
maybe it was guilt,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
right? Anyway, so Ralph Asdell, that's the last detective that's alive at the time. Sorry, that's the last detective that is now alive who was first put on this case.
Uh-huh.
Right, so
Uh-huh.
he's the last living member that was first on the case. Said that he had in fact found the killer at the time, but he had little resources to chase him, so he could never do anything. He noted that many people living near the lot where Elizabeth was found saw a man in a black car, but this information was never followed up because
Mm-hmm.
of the information.
Right.
He
Okay.
doesn't have a name, he doesn't have a person, he just had a lot of information that he was never able to kind of go through to conclusion, right?
Yeah.
300 med students are questioned by police because the cuts are being so perfectly done. A lot of med students were questioned, but nothing came up, and eventually the case went completely cold. Then, George Hodel is kind of a weird guy.
Mm-hmm.
His house has secret passages which his children weren't allowed to play in, which is slightly suspicious and weird,
Really
right?
creepy.
George's son, who was 5 at the time of the murder, would later become a police detective some 17 years later, and after retiring, became convinced his dad George had killed Elizabeth.
Yeah.
George is super intelligent, he's rich, he's studied surgery in med school, and he ran a clinic for the diseased. He's a busy bachelor with 11 kids by 5 different women.
Ugh.
And so his son is convinced that my dad did this.
Yeah. Yeah.
The son, now a retired detective, had found pictures of a woman who appeared to be super similar to Elizabeth in one of his dad's photo albums.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be confirmed if the woman was Elizabeth or not, because recent experts suggest a 90% match that it is her, but earlier experts at the time said it was an 80% no. So experts are kind of divided.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
His father's handwriting and that of the Black Dahlia were also somewhat similar, but experts were mixed on their findings again. Some saying that it's positively him and some saying it's positively not. No one was in the middle. Right?
Yeah.
George, at one point, is heavily suspected as the murderer. So, listening devices were put in his house by police. He's recorded saying, "Supposing I did kill the Black Dahlia, they couldn't prove it now. They can't talk to my secretary now because she's dead."
Mm.
It's so mob-like. It's so
Yeah.
creepy.
Yeah.
He also said, "This is the best payoff I've seen between law enforcement agencies. I'd like to get a connection made in the DA's office," which is quite strange. Why would he want this connection? It's kind of like a bit of a worry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
George's son also found evidence that his father and Elizabeth knew each other. There were documents that put the both of them together that you can find now in LAPD offices. It should be noted that at this time, LAPD was known to be corrupt. It was
100%.
widely known to be corrupt. And this may be why, even with huge mounting suspicion, the case was actually later dropped against him. All physical evidence from the case has now mysteriously disappeared. There is no physical evidence with the Black Dahlia case anymore.
Weird.
Including a bag that apparently was used to carry Elizabeth's body to the lot she was found. You can actually see this bag in the picture of her, in the dissected picture of her.
Yeah, it's like covering her in the picture, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's one also in the background.
Yes.
There's a bag. It's really strange, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the body the bag that is found at the scene is similar to bags that had been delivered to George's house carrying cement. So a week before her death, he gets a load of cement brought to his house, and this big sort of what would it be, like straw bags were at his house,
like a
and then
burlap
one was
sack.
found.
Yeah.
Right, and then one is found at her body. Yeah. So George also drove a black car, similar to the type of car that was described by people at the time who saw someone lingering around the lot.
Mm-hmm.
George was apparently a wannabe artist. He had loved a man called Man Ray, who was a famous artist known for painting Observatory Time, The Lovers, which depicted images similar to the cuts on Elizabeth's face, as well as some reference to the position of the bodies found. The way her body was similar to images that he loved, of this man that he loved.
Yeah.
George's daughter also said she remembered parties her father would host in which a lot of famous people would attend, including artist Man Ray. The daughter also was made to pose nude for Man Ray and was offered by her father to his friend for sexual favours at the age of 14. George was trying to teach his daughter, who was 11 at the time, about oral sex and how to perform oral sex. She also claimed her father was having sex with her.
Ugh.
The daughter of George gave birth at the age of 15 to a baby girl who was later adopted out. George was acquitted of all incest charges because his family at the time, backed him up in court.
Oh, God.
It should be heavily noted that George was very rich and supported most of the family, if not all of them. And
Exactly.
so him going to prison would have been sort of hellish for everybody,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, they'll just let him get away with anything because
Right.
they're
To kind of
disgusting.
brush it under the rug to keep their lives
Corrupt,
going, right?
horrible people.
Thereafter, after this happened, George moves to the Philippines. He fled or moved, it's kind of unclear, but he
Yeah.
goes to the Philippines.
Hmm.
Coincidentally, a woman was later murdered in Manila in 1967. She was found in an empty lot,
Mm-hmm.
posed and bisected,
Yeah.
just like Elizabeth. George Hodel lived half a mile from that crime scene at the time that happened.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people have said that the police were either incompetent or paid off, and that
Yeah.
that is how he got away with so much. In 2012, the son took a police dog to the home he grew up in, and the dog pointed to signs of human remains being on the property. Soil was also taken from the garden of the house, and human remains were also traced there too. This could indicate that, although it's definitely not the Black Dahlia because we found her body, but that George wasn't a stranger to murder.
Yeah, like he'd killed people before or
Right,
injured them.
right. And when pressing the police, when the Sun sort of pressed the police in 2012, they refused to dig further and they claimed the home is now privately owned and nothing could be done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Sun thinks that it's just a giant cover up
It
and that
is. I
no
mean,
one's
it
willing
is
to do anything about
because
it.
he's written a book about it, hasn't he? He's got like a whole
Yeah.
like book about it. Yeah.
The Black Dahlia, it's a really big case. I mean, if you're a crimer like
Yes.
us, then the Black
Huge.
Dahlia is like a, it's like a staple case that you should know about.
Yeah.
Like you would know about. Anyway, 3 weeks after Elizabeth's death, Jean French is found oddly posed in a vacant lot one morning, having died from blunt trauma. Similar to Elizabeth, the new body also had the initials BD, possibly Black Dahlia. The same guy who checked the notes and was convinced that the father, George, had written them, also confirmed that the letters written on the body were written by George.
Mm-hmm.
It should be said that the guy was hired by George's son, so had somewhat of a prerogative to sort of, advance the son's theory.
Yeah.
But he was also a professional.
Okay.
So, that's people's conjecture, right?
Yeah.
But the girl is bludgeoned to death, she's posed, and she's got this BD written on her, so it's very suspicious.
Is the BD written on her or carved into her?
Written.
Written. Okay.
It was written.
I was gonna say if it's carved, like if someone's like taken a knife or whatever, you wouldn't be able to tell from that it was like his handwriting
Right,
or whatever.
the handwriting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before her death, Elizabeth was seen drinking at the Cecil Hotel.
Oh God, my favorite place in the world. Like,
since its
honest to
opening
God,
in
this place.
1927, the Cecil Hotel has been plagued by 16 non-natural deaths and unexplained paranormal events.
I love this place.
So, I think maybe you know where I'm going.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because when oh my God, I'm ready. Go.
Okay, you ready? So,
yeah.
Goldie Osgood, also known as the Pigeon Lady, was raped and murdered in her room. This case is still unsolved to this day.
Mm-hmm.
6 years later, another serial killer, Jack Unterweger, also known as the Vienna Strangler, moved into the hotel.
Yep.
Richard Ramirez
is
born in Texas, February 29th, 1960. His father, Julian Ramirez, was prone to fits of rage, which would often result in physical abuse. Ramirez was enamoured by his cousin, Miguel, who was a combat vet who had been posted in Vietnam during the Vietnam War. I think you know. So Miguel would show Ramirez pictures of Vietnamese women that he had raped, including a picture of a victim he had raped with a severed head in the image. Richard Ramirez would learn techniques from his cousin on how to stealthily kill someone. Ramirez was present when his cousin Miguel fatally shot his wife Jessie in the face after an argument between the two. Miguel does not get a very long sentence for that. He actually gets out of prison sometime after, even though he killed someone.
It
It's
doesn't
insane.
surprise me.
Ramirez then moved in with his sister and her husband. Her husband was an obsessive peeping Tom, a pervert,
Gross.
or like a and he would take Ramirez with him on the nights where he planned to peep on women. He would take him
Oh
with him
God,
to go look.
I hate men.
Richard's first murder was 9-year-old May Luong. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name. He murdered May in the basement of the hotel he was living in. She was brutally murdered. I don't want to go into the facts of it because
It's
it's
vile.
disgusting.
Yeah, Richard Ramirez is one of the
Um,
most like disgusting
disgusting.
serial killers ever.
In 2016, it's found that a second person, so recently, only 4 years ago, 2016, it was found that a second person was at the scene at the time of that murder, but that person was a juvenile and so was never pursued because of
Yeah,
lack of evidence. But
right.
other traces of DNA were there that linked this juvenile, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ramirez would go on to kill numerous women. He finally, I don't like saying earned the title. He was brandished the title Night
Yeah,
Stalker,
yeah,
which I think a lot of people may have heard of, the Night
yeah.
Stalker. Um, I'm not going to go into more detail about his cases because they are vile, but I will say that he broke into homes, burgled, sexually abused, and murdered his victims in the most horrendous
He
ways.
did. He was disgusting.
Disgusting.
I have like a weird little thing to say about Richard Ramirez, right? I met
Hmm.
this woman a few months ago, right? And she's a bit of like, she's one of those like proper, crazy women, but she's really nice. And she had like, all her hair was different colors, and she had loads of piercings and loads of tattoos. But she had a massive tattoo of Richard Ramirez, like a perfect portrait of Richard Ramirez, like on her leg. And I was like, I immediately knew who it was. And I was like, why? Because she had like a leg full of tattoos of like different, like a lot of them were from movies, like movie serial killers and stuff like that. Like, Freddy Krueger and stuff like that. But one real one, which was Richard Ramirez, right? And I was like, why? And she was like, when I was young, he was like this media sensation. And she's like, I loved him. I loved him so much. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. And then she said she found out because like later on, then they never released to the public at the time, like because he was around in the 70s, right? So they never released to
Yes.
the public at the time that like he had raped all these little girls and stuff. That he was just like a murderer. Then later on, it came out that he was like raping them before killing them. And then she was like, I've regretted having this tattoo ever since then. And I was like, yeah, but the killing was fine.
Yeah, that's insane.
Isn't that weird? And it was
I mean,
like,
a lot of people do get some romantic feelings towards murderers, which is
yeah,
really
yeah.
weird.
It's like a
I mean,
thing
I've
though,
never
isn't
had
it?
that feeling, so I don't know. I'm
Oh
not going to
no.
judge, but I don't know. I don't get it. Um, crazy. That's insane. Well, when Richard Ramirez um, is visiting his brother, he takes a bus to Tucson. He's unaware at the time that he's a huge target for investigation. He actually passes police who were searching for him, and he only became spooked when a group of Mexican women identified him as the killer, or El Matador.
Mm-hmm.
And when they said that, he then saw himself on the front page of a newspaper and fled in absolute panic. So he attempts to flee by jumping fences, and he tries to carjack 3 different people, but he's constantly failing to get in someone's car. He's He's chased away by bystanders who pursue him and held him down until police came. He's struck with a bar by a bystander and he is beat on the scene in order to restrain him. He was convicted of all charges, that being 13 counts of murder, 5 attempted murders, 11 sexual assault charges, and 14 burglaries. He's sentenced to death in the gas chamber, where his last words would be, "Big deal. Death always went with the territory. See you in Disneyland." So
Yeah,
fucking great though.
yeah.
Um, just to let you know, Richard Ramirez, at the time of his killing spree, lived on the top floor of the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. It is at this hotel that my most mind-boggling, disturbing mystery took place.
Here we go.
Lam Ho Yi was born April 30th, 1991.
This is where I knew
She's
you
a
were going.
Canadian student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. Okay.
Bring it home.
This case ruined my life for years. And today, I have a conclusion for you.
Oh?
And I cried. I was in absolute tears when
Just for a bit of background on this, right? I would say that this is mine and Josh's most discussed case. Okay, this is why I knew, as soon as he mentioned the Cecil Hotel, I knew he was going here, right? Because we watch so many YouTube videos about this case. We watch all the footage. We talk about it all the time. Like, it's our thing, isn't it?
I must say, when I suggested we do a podcast, it was because of cases like this,
Yeah.
and this case in particular that I've always wanted to talk about. But I wanted to do it justice by really getting into the backstory of this hotel.
I'm excited
and
if you've
what
got
has
some
happened.
answers. If you found some answers.
Right. So, Lam Ho Yi, also known as Elisa Lam, which is her English name, decided to take a trip travelling alone on Amtrak and some intercity buses. She posts regularly to her blog and her Tumblr and Facebook and stuff, and she arrives in LA January 26th, where she checked into the Cecil Hotel. She posts on Facebook that she feels paranoid, so much so that she wants to create a new Facebook account and she wanted to delete her current one, right? During her trip, she would lose her phone and need to borrow another from a friend. Despite this, she was always in contact with her family, daily. Her family was so wary of her travelling alone that they requested that she do, the daily check-in. And it was only when she agreed to do that that they gave her the okay to go ahead with travelling. The last day of her stay at the Cecil Hotel, Lam missed her phone call with her parents, which immediately struck them as concerning. The police, they contacted police, who searched the hotel thoroughly, but are unable to find any sign of Lam. Then, police release what is just the most bizarre video.
It's horrifying.
I have ever seen.
It is
right?
horrifying.
Please understand that when I studied law, and me and Jess, we've watched some videos. I'm not going to talk about them, but we've watched some videos.
Horrible things.
But this video is harrowing.
I don't know what it is. It's just so frightening to see her like that. It's one of the most affecting videos. It's not gruesome. It's just frightening. It's so scary.
So, if you haven't seen it, I'll put a still of it on Twitter, and then you could perhaps go look for it yourself. But it basically shows the last moments that Lam is seen alive.
Yeah.
The video is so famous because it's bizarre and harrowing nature. It shows a distressed Elisa Lam in an elevator on the day of her disappearance. She can be seen hiding behind the elevator corner, poking her head out of the elevator and frantically checking the floor, stepping in and out of the elevator until finally she steps out entirely and leaves the area. The last moments show Lisa outside the elevator, moving her hands in a strange set of gestures.
Oh God, I got chills. That's the bit that really scares me. I got like tears in my eyes.
I'm choking about
harrowing.
This case.
Like that when she's like waving her arms, like she is. God, it's horrible.
She's moving her hands in a very strange set of gestures, possibly talking to someone off camera. Lam was only seen by herself in the hotel. Hotel guests and hotel staff only saw her alone. The door to the elevator stays open, capturing the whole scene, waiting for Lam to leave completely before shutting, which is strange to some people.
It is weird because they don't try to close ever. It's a long time. It's a long video. And their doors are just open the whole time. I don't understand it. The amount of times I have been closed in a lift door, that you have witnessed is insane.
Yeah.
Like the times that you
The
haven't witnessed as well. You know, why have
the
they stayed
video.
open?
This video is highly scrutinised, and people believe that one whole minute, was cut from the footage because the timestamp apparently goes forward a minute,
Yeah.
but it's so blurry it's hard to see if that is in fact the case. Another belief is that her mouth is purposefully blurred so as not to show what she's
What's she
actually
saying?
saying, right?
Mm.
It's not until hotel patrons start to complain of low water pressure and a strange taste coming from the tap water, and that the water would initially be black and then later turn clear, that investigators discover Elise's dead, decaying body floating in one of the water tanks on the roof of the building. A water tank which fed the showers, the taps, the coffee shop, and all the rooms in the hotel. Her body had to be cut out of the water tank because they couldn't remove her just by taking her out. They had to drain the entire thing and split the tank open in order to get her body out.
Yeah.
A nearby bookstore owner, Katie Orphan, had seen Lamb before her death and told investigators that she had bought music and books as gift for her family back in Vancouver, Canada. She was happy and friendly, according to Katie. This gave rise to the idea that she did have plans of returning to Canada and that she didn't just put herself in this tank, right?
Yeah.
Lamb's autopsy showed signs of medical grade drugs in Lamb's system, but as someone suffering from bipolar, it's not unlikely that the medication on the toxology report was anything other than meds for her condition.
Yeah.
No illegal substances or alcohol were found in her body, and it should be noticed that these medications are to be taken. Sorry, I wrote this a little strange, but I should preface in saying that these medications, if taken correctly, can help towards a condition, but if taken without the correct care, can lead to manic side effects.
Yes. It's I think I know what drug it is. And
It's
it's there for like it's treating bipolar to like lessen
yeah,
episodes, isn't it? Like, you know.
right. It can be used for things like schizophrenia and anything
Yeah.
with hallucinogenic
Genic.
tendencies, things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Originally, Lamb was in a shared room with other hotel stayers in like a hostel situation,
Mm.
but after some complaints of odd behaviour, she was moved to stay in a solo room. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so her behaviour could have been seen to have been getting slightly erratic, and her posts online would somewhat kind of go together with that.
Yeah.
Questions appeared like, how did she get into the tank alone without being noticed? Investigators who found Lamb commented that just getting to the area of the tanks was difficult enough. You had to get to the top floor, that would be climbing ladders to get there, then passing a security alarm door to get onto the roof. Pushing that door would have set off the fire alarm.
Right, yeah.
Right? How was she not seen? How did she not trigger that alarm? That alarm could only be disabled by hotel staff, and it would ring so loudly that the top 2 floors of the hotel would be seriously affected by the noise, and the front desk itself would ring by itself, to say that someone upstairs had gone, unless it had been previously disabled.
Yeah.
Elisa Lam was found naked in the tank, but her clothes were also in the tank with her, but had been removed from her body.
Mm-hmm,
Right? She also would have needed to have climbed into the tank and then closed the lid on top of herself, which is noted as being really heavy and almost impossible for someone of her size to do.
Yeah.
Also, the hole into the tank is not made for a person to enter, right?
No.
It would have been difficult for her to get in, and that's why it was so difficult to get her out, to be honest. People who stayed at the Cecil Hotel, now Stay on Main Hotel, claimed to have seen ghosts, and they felt very uncomfortable there. People have claimed that maybe the ghost of Satan worshipper Richard Ramirez, the man we previously talked about, pushed Elisa to kill herself.
Okay.
Other question whether someone working at the hotel with access to the roof killed her. Before her death, Elisa made numerous posts suggesting she had a big mouth and that people around her would get angry with her soon. She also posted that she should be taken out of society before she gets herself in trouble with someone because of her views.
She posted that.
Yeah, she posted on her Facebook and Tumblr that she should be taken out of society because her views were just really
Right,
not
okay.
correct. Um, After her death, her Tumblr would continue releasing her posts. It's not clear whether she had set posts to be
Uh-huh.
scheduled and to
Yeah.
release, or whether whoever had her phone
Was
was
doing it.
releasing them.
Yeah.
It's unclear. The case is still unsolved, but her death certificate is signed as accidental drowning. Okay?
Right.
But, and here's my conclusion. So, that's the case in whole, and I have mauled over this case for like such a long time. It really upsets me because of the video and stuff. And then I came across a video that came to this conclusion, and it fits, and it has really given me closure. And then I had a massive cry about it,
Yeah.
and I agreed. And then when I heard it, that was it. I finally understood that this case should be considered like a product of our own fear of mental illness.
Yeah.
Because really, we prefer the mystery that a monster, a ghost, a murderer killed Elisa, or that something really weird happened to her, because that helps us with the reality that someone's mental condition could cause them to do something so sad and so bizarre,
Yeah.
and that her intense depression, which is shown by her posts online, the anxieties that she was facing, the bipolar that she was struggling with, the somewhat schizophrenic tendencies that she had, could have driven someone to confusion and a
Mm.
manic episode that would be depicted in the video, and that in fact this is the case of someone suffering mental illness, someone that's struggling, that perhaps instead of taking her tablets correctly, mistook her medication, and that instead of it being this like huge conspiracy of her final moments in an elevator, and instead of it being this like famous video that we all watch and it being crazy, it's just the result of poor mental health and like us not taking care of ourselves properly,
Mm.
and that maybe she just had, and the fact is that probability stands that she had a manic episode, and she got onto the roof and climbed in, not knowing what she was doing, not really understanding what she was doing, and killed herself by accident. And to further this point, the toxology report that has now been re-investigated shows that the medication that she was carrying she hadn't taken properly, that she was missing some medications and taking some more of other medications, and the door that should have alarmed to go onto the roof actually, more often than not, never did trigger an alarm. And there are YouTubers now who run, because this only happened a few years ago, there are YouTubers that run the building, push the door, and the alarm never triggers anymore.
Yeah.
So this was really sad for me
Yeah, it
today,
is.
because this is a case that it's always been like this like conspiracy thing,
Yeah.
but then the reality, and kind of sad reality, is like, no, this is the case of a woman who, this hotel is so scary. So many things have happened. There's murderers. The Black Dahlia is like put to it. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, is put to this hotel. Then this girl goes missing with this scary elevator. You know, we want to kind of fantasize it, but
Mm.
it's just, it's
But
worse than
I
that.
it's still I know what you're saying,
Mm.
but how, if they couldn't get her out of the hole, how did she get in?
I know It is really strange. I think maybe that's probably why she took her clothes off, so that she,
Would
however way she,
fit.
pushed herself through, so that she could. Do you know what I mean? That to me, the fact that she couldn't get in just as herself and that her clothes are taken off, kind of shows me that maybe in that episode, that's it kind of fits together more so than her just
Yeah.
being in there. There's no signs of a struggle on her body. There's no, you know, no one's in the video with her at the time. The video, if you look at it, it is frightening, it is upsetting, but it could possibly show a manic paranoia
Yeah, definitely.
state. Do you
Definitely.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's the mystery surrounding the Cecil Hotel. Elisa Lam,
Mm.
Richard Ramirez, and Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. Was that intense?
Yeah. I mean, it's quite intense. Like, it's always weird because for so long, it's been the mystery of what happened to Elisa Lam. Like, we're trying to find a killer, we're trying to find enemies, we're trying to find, did she do this herself? For so long. Actually, when did this happen? This happened in 2011?
Oh, it was like, yeah, around 2000. Let me just double check. I had the pages open.
Um,
But yeah, it was recent.
Josh, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, so her body's found in 2013,
Okay.
so 7 years ago.
It's what you started talking to me about, because I didn't know about the Elisa Lam case until you mentioned it to me, like in 2016.
Yeah, I think I can't remember when I knew about this case,
Shane, it
but
was Shane Dawson did a video about it.
no, I knew about it before then.
Oh, right.
Yeah, much before then. But there is another Shane conspiracy that I want to go into, but I need to get more information on. But there is
Okay.
another one of his that I want to go into. Big up to Shane because we love him.
Yeah, we
But
love Shane.
no, I've known about
Because
this.
that's what you
This
showed
bugged me for
me.
years.
Like in 2016, that's the video you showed me. That was like my introduction to the Elisa Lam case, which became like our life.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a crazy story, isn't it?
It is
When
sad that,
it's
like,
more crazy when you watch the video.
yeah, it really brings it into perspective when you see the video and you can actually like put a person to it. Like, this actually happened. Like, this is footage of it happening.
Mm.
It's really like, I don't know, it's deep, isn't it? It's just like it really
It
strikes a
is,
chord.
but I think
Just
today what
happens in
was
this
interesting.
hotel as well. This weird hotel where
Yeah,
everyone's like, and they like, there's rumors that Marilyn Monroe, like her ghost is in this hotel and like all
yeah.
this stuff because she stayed there once, and like there's just so much stuff connected to this hotel.
Well,
Like,
also people
why?
have. There has been it's to locals known as Suicide Hotel because people have jumped
Yeah, loads of people
from
have jumped.
windows. But when I was re-looking over it today, and only today, did I come across recent toxology reports,
Mm-hmm.
and those toxology reports suggest that she wasn't taking her meds correctly, and it showed that with her not taking them in that way, that it would have produced this kind of delusional
Yeah, definitely. This
hallucinations
is so
and
weird because
manic episode.
I was literally watching yesterday. I started watching this new, like, it's not a new TV show, but it's new to me. I started watching this TV show on Netflix where like it's called Spinning Out, and it's about figure skating. But like some of the main people have bipolar, and they just talk so much about like not taking medicine properly, and they like showing like episodes, and it's so weird that you talked about that. Just like yesterday, I binge watched this like series about like
Yeah, I
bipolar,
think
and I was like, whoa, and not taking your meds.
I think we have this like the. I think if anything, if I'm going to take away anything from this case, having mulled over it for so much time, it's just that like rather than it's wonderful to look into the conspiracy theories, and I really enjoy that, and it's great to get into that dark horror kind of feeling. But I think it's important that at some point we look at ourselves,
Mm.
and as someone that's dealt with mental health problems in my past, and I've had a
Mm-hmm.
really bad anxiety for a long time. It was refreshing to actually have this conclusion of, do you know what? Maybe there's no monster. Maybe we should just, and actually we should look at things like bipolar not as a scary monster. We should look at it because I think we ignore her mental conditions because it's more frightening to us.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas in reality, we should accept that this is just illness, right? And there are ways that we can deal with it, and there are positive things we can do, and we should shine a light on. If someone's on Facebook and they're saying they're manically depressed, if someone's on their Tumblr and they're talking about people around them are going to take them out of society because what they're thinking, what they're feeling is wrong, this case, more than the video, this case should be a look at the signs that this girl gave that she needed help. The friends around her that lent her phones, the friends around her in California that could read these Facebook posts, look at the struggle she went through before this. Her case
yeah,
is not about the monster putting her in the water tank. This is about a poor girl who was suffering with depression, who in a manic episode, not taking their pills correctly, did something she didn't mean to do. And I think that we should at
yeah.
some point face that. We should face that theory of let's reach out to people, and especially in times like Corona, it's a really good time for us to remember, like, we should look out for people with mental illnesses.
Yep, really
And
should.
also, creepy hotels, don't stay in fucking creepy hotels.
Hello, we are definitely gonna go there.
Yeah, I mean,
We are
so when I was
definitely gonna go to this hotel at some point in our
me
lives.
and yeah, me and Jess are planning our future California trip because we've always wanted to go. And like as I was researching this, every part of me was like, I'm gonna have to book a night in the hotel. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to do it.
we're
I
gonna
mean, if
have to stay in
Richard
this hotel.
Ramirez and Black Dahlia and everyone's connected to it, how can we not go?
I
We
know.
have to.
We have to. That is our like mission
But
in life.
can we also say that why were so many people in a hotel okay with black, smelly, taste weird water?
I don't think they were, babe. Like, I think that's why people were notified that there's like, this water's black, and this is the thing that creeps me out is that they describe the taste, and basically, people are like literally drinking a decaying body.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I
but
no.
the coffee
Oh,
shop
oh my god.
was on that same water tank. There was a coffee shop, and the coffee area is on the same water tank, which means that if you're just getting coffee from a vendor, you're not looking at the water. You're looking
No.
at the nice, brown coffee coloured colour. You don't see how that it came out black to start and that they waited until it went clear. I mean, I just it's
Vile.
insane.
It is vile. Also, like, this water tank, right? This confuses me. There's like a water tank on top of the building. Do they go and refill it? Like, I don't get it. I don't get how it works. Like, do they
I
wait for the
think
rainwater to like fall in the tiny little hole on the top?
that is interesting. On researching the case, I didn't research water tanks.
Because like we don't have a
Shockingly,
water tank on our houses, and we're getting water. Like I don't know, but I'm
but
not a
isn't it?
plumber. Okay, I'm sounding so
No,
thick right now, but I'm not a plumber. I've never studied it. I have no idea what's
no.
going on.
Isn't it just so that like a water tank, if it's connected to things like hot taps, it's just so that it can be heated up, the water?
Is it?
Isn't that what the water tank's for? It goes,
I have no idea.
water gets stored in the water tank, and then that's why if it's like, when people are like, oh, the showers ran out of hot water, it's because the water tank on the top that heats the water, that's what heats it. Isn't it because that is emptied and that they're waiting for water to go back into it from the pipes, and the cold water can still
No.
run because the piped water still comes, but you got to wait for that
Well,
water
then
to
why
be
the
like
hell
heated
are
up again.
people drinking water from the tap from a hot tap? Who does that? That's vile.
I mean, don't take what I've just said. I am the kind of person that will just bullshit an answer until I think
I
it's
literally
okay. So
have
I'll probably
no
just bullshit
idea
that whole
how
thing.
that works. Can someone please DM me to tell me
Yeah,
how this
tweet us.
water tank works? Okay, I'm highly confused about it, and I need to know.
I'm so sorry. That was an hour long of me talking about
A lot of cases. It
so
was quite
many
interesting.
cases.
You went like through like 3 main things. Let's go back to the Black Dahlia a second because, like you said, if you're like if you're a crime buff, that's one of the main things you know. It's like one of the OGs. Like happened in like what the 40s, isn't it?
Yeah,
30,
40.
40,
I mean, around
40s.
47 things are getting found. So yeah,
So, and not many people know that George, what's his name? George Hodel.
yeah,
Not many people know about him now because it's not very well publicized now. So,
yeah,
like a lot of people know about the Black Dahlia. You've probably seen the picture of her. There's like a really creepy picture of her face that's like really famous.
yeah. There's a very famous picture of her, you know, post trauma face and pre,
That
attack face,
they
and they released.
released.
Yeah.
So like, that is like a public image now. It's horrible. It's
And
frightening.
I recommend that if you search, please take care, because there are also pictures of her dissected.
Yeah.
So take care if you want to listen to the crime but not look at it. I would recommend not googling something like the Black Dahlia, because I think that case is so famous because it's unsolved. There's things like the letter, which is just so scary. It's like a media frenzy, and she's bisected. That like draws up this media frenzy, right? It's
Yeah.
worse that she's got these horrific
Also, she was
details.
at the time of her death, she was like she was trying to be an actress, wasn't she? And
Yeah,
she was like a
she's trying to be an
model
actress.
and she was really pretty.
Yeah,
Um
she's like a beautiful woman.
so that made it like a media sensation again because she was this beautiful woman who was up and coming and starting to get somewhere in her career.
Yeah.
Um so it was like a huge media thing. And like you said, the police covered everything up because they were so corrupt at the time. Um but
Can
yeah,
I just say,
yeah.
sorry, that when looking at this case, I saw images of people dressing up for Halloween as her,
Oh my god.
and I'm not
I
sure
think
that
that's a bit far.
right. And I mean, if you listen to these podcasts, I'm so dark. I make dark jokes,
Yeah.
dark humor. I say some dumb shit sometimes that I don't mean to say, but dressing up as this poor woman with this huge crime, I
Oh,
think is just, even for me,
dressing up as a
even for
murder
me,
victim. Dressing up as a
it's,
murder victim, that's too far. That
yeah,
is
it's
too
harsh.
far. I don't
I
like
mean,
it. Yeah, it's
it's harrowing.
awful. Awful. It is like,
It's harrowing.
the pictures, if you look at it, like Josh said, if you do look into it, just we have warned you. It is not
Yeah, just
nice.
take care.
It is gruesome.
Yeah,
It's
really, really take care.
and if it's like one of those things that's gonna stick with you. I remember that this is so weird. I'm gonna go off on a tangent, right? When I was younger and I was like a teenager, I was like reading up crimes and wiki pages, and I didn't often look at the pictures, and if I did, like the pictures haunted me more
Mm.
than anything else. But there's something about picture. This is the one that really horrified me, right? And that just reminded me of it a bit. But when I was in uni, I once looked up a picture of Marilyn Monroe's dead body.
Oh,
And
oh.
it stuck with me for months. And I literally couldn't sleep for months because of this picture that I searched out. And it
You're
really haunted me.
crazy?
Yeah, I know, but I am crazy. Like now, I'm okay. I think because of that, like, picture, I'm like, that I went through that period and then I came out like, okay, well, nothing's going to be worse than that. Even though it wasn't particularly
Mm.
gruesome, it was that this massive, huge, famous figure that I have, like, pictures of in my room everywhere. I absolutely love her. You know, I saw her. It's not gruesome, it's just awful. So, unless you're willing to go through months of not sleeping because that's the image you see, that's my advice, is don't look at the pictures,
Yeah, the
because you never
pictures
know what's
are
going to affect
hard.
you. You don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's definitely hard to look at. It's not. I don't. That's one part that I don't really search out. I'm one of these people that, like, I enjoy the top 5 creepy videos on YouTube when it's like obviously faked, or
Yeah.
it's someone trying to get the horror feel, because I enjoy the horror feel. I like the scared feeling. But when it's a real crime, I do struggle to look at those kind of
Yeah, because
images.
we always used to watch, like, top 10 scary
Yeah,
videos, top 10 like encounters, top 10 like being chased videos. Like, we always used to
yeah.
watch those. And then one day we got into like this I don't know. It was like this. I don't know how we got to it, but we were letting the YouTube videos play, and then it was like getting so dark and so real that I just remember the three of us sat in that room that you are sat in right now, and we were just like, turn this off. This is too much.
Yeah, I
This is
remember.
too real. It was like
I
a
mean,
prison. We were watching a video about a prison, and
yeah,
it was awful. And like,
yeah, I remember.
there's just
I
sometimes
know
it
that
just
the
goes too far.
videos. Yeah, the videos. Yeah, do take care when you're looking up things like this, because if you do, like us, if you get kind of lax and you sit chatting with someone, you might look back at the TV and it just gets too much to watch. I remember seeing a video. I'm not going to explain the video, and Jess, I don't think we should talk about it too much. But if I just say the word taxi to you,
Oh
there's a
God, don't.
video
Oh my God, that is
horrendous, and
horrendous.
it's not gruesome, but
It is.
I remember watching YouTube and it came up as like a scary video, and we're
Oh my
watching like the top
God.
10 scary videos, and usually it's like, oh, someone's outside the house, but probably fake, or oh, there's this like
Yeah.
witch outside, but it just looks so fake. And then
This
this
weird
video
gremlin
was
in the
so,
grass.
yeah, but some of them really do
Oh
take care.
God.
Anyway, we've gone off
That
such on a
taxi
tangent.
video is horrendous. Me and you, that was like, way back, like early 2016. I remember us, and we were just like, we were just absolutely
Just
dead
haunted
from
me for
that.
so long.
Dead from
Can I
it.
also can I also recommend that you don't look up too much into Richard Ramirez, because he's a
Yeah.
horrible person.
Awful.
And
He was on, you can watch the
yeah, gross.
video of him on the dating game.
Ugh.
And yeah, when he was on TV and he actually won. And he won the date with the
Yeah.
girl. And because you know about him now, if you go back and watch that, it is frightening.
Yeah, he wins the day, but thankfully she pulls
said
out
no, yeah.
because
She was
she
like,
said
he's
he's
weird.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah, how great's that?
Thank
So,
God.
trust your instincts. You
She
think
saved
someone's
her
a
own
creep.
life there,
Yeah, you bail out so fast. You don't worry about being rude. If you need to bail out, you just fucking get out of there.
If someone's an absolute creep, then just say. Just be like, oi mate, you're a creep. I'm out.
I hope I did you a good service there. I took over the podcast today.
You
I'm so
did. No, I
sorry.
love that because, the Elisa Lam case, that's our case. That is.
Yeah.
That is our thing.
Kind of a big one for me, that case. And the only reason I decided to do it today was because someone really took me to church. I was watching YouTube and this guy that was talking about
took me
it.
to church.
Oh, he guided me by the hand and took me right to church, and I prayed because he talked about the mental illness sort of perspective, and then it just really clicked for me, and I was like, oh wow, that's a really nice thing to end on. Not nice, but it's
it's not
no,
nice.
but no, but it's a
don't do this like the mini-sode where you pretended that you were going to end on a positive note and then it was really dark.
But like, I think it's a way for us to stop looking at the conspiracy and start accepting the fact,
that this girl probably just had, a mental episode that led to her doing something stupid by accident. And we should all be aware of that, like, rather than hide from it. We should be aware that this is what could happen if you don't get help yourself, if you're feeling down.
I think as soon as you accept that the boogeyman in this case didn't exist, I think as soon as you accept that,
it's mental health.
Right? Exactly. And if we focus on that and make it like a topic to talk about, that's, not an awful thing. We should, Did you get the chills?
I know, my Alexa just started like piping up
behind
me.
Alex.
Scared the life out of me. It was just like,
oh my God,
I was like, whoa, Jesus Christ, she's here. Is Elisa here?
Do you have a nice do you have a nice big juicy case for us next week?
Well, now I'm gonna have to up my game because mine was interesting, but it's quite short.
Okay.
But I feel like I have to up my game now.
I've got some mini-sode love for you. Baby love. I've got some mini-sode love for you. I've also I've been watching my 90 Day Fiancé. I'm keeping up with that. I've got some nice thoroughly enjoying that.
I saw it on Prime yesterday. It was like, because I tried to search it online to watch it for free because I'm terrible. But I saw it on Prime and it was like 20 quid per season. I was like, nah, no way.
Oh my God, worth it.
No, I ain't paying 20 quid, love. I ain't paying 20 quid per season. No way.
So fantastic.
No
Highly
way.
recommend.
Ah,
Cool.
right.
I think we did it.
We did. You did, actually.
Jessie. I did. I took your hand and ran with it.
You took us to town.
I bloody love orange.
I fucking love green.
Ooh. See you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.